Lillian the Waters in the Understanding series, Truth marches on. Only one mind. How many times one has said that there is but one mind, yet let himself believe in other individual minds. If there is but one God or mind, then this mind is the only thinker. Is this not so? How then could one assume to make correction in his thinking? Could any correction be made in mind if mind is God? Certainly not. That which stands between one and his acceptance of the one mind is the belief in the multiplicity of persons or personalities, each with a mind of his own, each with the individual thinking. Only as one beholds and understands the fact and absoluteness of the one mind, which is God, will he be able to cancel his belief in other personal minds, other personal thinkers. Nor can anyone do this of himself, that is, as one of many individual thinkers. Quotes, except the Father draw him. It is an utter impossibility. Only God, the one mind, is convinced of the truth that I am the only mind there is, and there is not and cannot be another. How vain and useless for a personality, a personal mind, to attempt to instruct or teach another personality, another personal mind. A great moment it is for anyone when for the first time he sees that since God is the only mind, then God is the only thinker. Yes, the one mind, which is the one selfhood, is all that can really think. All thinking is in and of this one God self, and without this mind there is nothing thought that is thought. Never did God create other minds. One mind is sufficient for the whole of the book of life, the whole of heaven above, of earth beneath, and of the waters under the earth. How utterly foolish, vain, and contemptible for anyone to weave thoughts out of what he pleases to call his own mind, hoping by doing so to control his experience. Quotes, except the Lord build a house, think the thoughts, they labor in vain that build it. All thinking of the assumptive personal mind proves vanity. Jesus discerned and announced that by his own thoughts as an individual he could do nothing. Said he, if I bear witness of myself, my witness is not true. He knew that of himself as a separate or independent thinker, nothing could be accomplished. Thus he said, the Father in me, he doeth the work, he thinketh the thoughts. This one perfect, indivisible, and universal God-mind is present as each one of us, ever operative, divine, and eternal. And when one discovers this everlasting reality, he will willingly and gladly renounce claim to any individual mind or individual thinking. This one selfhood, which is mind, thinks only in terms of truth and reality, of perfection and completeness, immeasurable, immaculate, irresistible, irreversible, ever established and at hand. It beholds nothing but the brightness of its own glory, majesty, and power. Then what mind is it that thinks or believes in incompleteness, impossibility, and imperfection? No mind at all. To see this as the great and inflexible fact of being is surely to partake of the living truth or actual understanding of being. First of all, one must get himself, that is, that which seems to be a self or mind of his own, out of the way. It is imperative that the surrender of the sense of a separate self be made, even as Jesus himself exemplified. This exactment must be fulfilled. Secondly, one should let his whole aim and desire be to be God-taught, to accept only the one mind, so that this mind will instruct and teach him, and bring all things to his remembrance. Only then will his thinking satisfy him, nourish and glorify, bless and enrich him. As the author of any book of drama stands back of every single character in the book, and is the one and only mind doing the thinking therein, so with true discernment one sees that there is but one mind thinking, and one mind expressing itself throughout the entire book of life. Verily, the only thing which is helping anyone on earth today is the thinking of this one mind. What one calls his own thinking has not a single thing to do with his real life and living. Everything which seems to be, yet is not of this one selfhood and its expression, shall be proven utterly vain and totally inexistent. There are various synonyms for God, and one can of course accept and make use of whichever words suit him best at the moment. God is the only selfhood, or all, thus the one and only self, creator, source, mind, life, substance, principle, being, I am. Whichever term brings you the greatest good, it is yours to take and use. Within this self, this mind or thinker, is the entire creation and full expression of being, which from first to last is wholly mental or spiritual. It is indeed this one thinker which is upholding and maintaining your wholeness and perfection this very instant, keeping it faultless, immutable, eternal, and preserving the whole world pure as crystal, without spot or blemish. Therefore, dear friend, give up all responsibility to do, to think, or to recreate anything of your own personal thinking. With your awareness of the one mind as impersonal and universal, you will find your thinking to be happy and satisfying, supplying you with guidance in all directions and ways. This mind is the source of all action, movement, law, enforcement, cause and effect. Nothing can change, reverse, or interfere with its perpetual and ever harmonious thinking, acting, and being. The notion of other minds, of the thinkers, is preposterous and without truth or reality whatsoever. Separate minds were never created by the one Creator, and all things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made. This one self of all is never deluded, never discordant, never at a loss for illumination or understanding. This self never slumbers nor sleeps. Ever it is absolute, invariable, immovable, immeasurable, and complete. Throughout all eternity ring out the words of the eternal self. I am omnipotence, I am omniscience, I am omnipresence. At every point the same, yesterday, today, and forever. I am the only law and lawmaker. I am the only thinker and thought. I am purity, without need of any removal of impurity. Perfection, without need of any attainment or gain. Ever I am self-illuminating and self-known. There is never a single instant when I am not complete, perfect, irresistible, absolute, all. If the surrender of a personal sense of self is to be made, who is to make it? Who is it that is required to give up the false belief in personality or individual mind? And just how is it to be accomplished? This seems a hard question to answer at first, nor is there any answer to it except from the standpoint of truth. Of course, the divine mind cannot make any such surrender, nor is there any other mind to do so. Although such surrender is required, of yourself you can never accomplish it. In fact, the more effort one makes in this direction, regardless how sincere, the more he will need to carry on the effort, for it will have no end. Let us take some concrete example, such as darkness. Suppose that you are required to set aside or remove darkness out of a room. Never can this be done while you attempt in any way to give your time and effort in removing it, or indeed by giving it any attention whatsoever. Your only need is to turn the light, is it not? Is to turn to the light, is it not? As you bring in the light, your desire to do away with the darkness has been fulfilled. Now, in the same way, the necessity to be released from a false sense of individual thinking and believing, the surrender of the sense of a separate self, can take place, but never while one labors to do this. He must turn his attention entirely away from all such effort and face the light of truth. He must turn to the one and only mind and identify himself with it. When one accepts the divine mind as his very own, understanding that he has never actually been identified with any other, he will accomplish the surrender, for the sense of a personal self will be blotted out. Thus, the requirement for surrender or renunciation is fulfilled. Can light explain whence cometh and goeth darkness? No more can the one infinite mind see other than itself, its own majesty, glory, power, and presence. False sense, wrong thinking, personal believing, all these are swallowed up in true identification and in no other way. What you cannot do or accomplish of yourself, in quotes, you can do and you can accomplish as the perfect self, the perfect mind. With men, personalities, this is impossible. With God, all things are possible. Understanding and true identification are one and go hand in hand. In the final analysis, there is no bondage and no liberation. The self or absolute is alone real and is one and universal. As we identify with this and abide in the primal state of pure being, realizing that there is no existence apart from it, the sense of personality is lost, and that which alone is remains resplendent. Steadfast abidance in the self will surely deliver to us the understanding which we crave. There was never a time when perfect being, mind, the self, was unknown, unrealized, or unillumined to itself. Why then waste precious time and labor in endless and vain repetition, denial, or efforts to destroy or attain, to surrender or achieve? Never identify yourself with an individual mind, with wrong thinking, or with a physical body. Identify with and meditate upon only your primal, real state of being, your absolute identity with the one self or mind and no other.